Hello, and welcome to the very first episode, the introductory episode of the Very Good Video Games Podcast. I'm your host, Levi Stevenson, and I'm joined by the audio engineer and very good video editor and general henchman, Scott McKee.
Yes, that is me. That is I.
I'm also joined by psychology PhD, rat lover, and general expert of rats, Dylan Yates.
Feel like you really need to qualify what rat lover means in this context.
No, I like to keep it vague.
All right, fair enough.
Listen, we'll leave that up to the listeners to decide.
We'll go into detail more later. I just wanted to talk about what this podcast is exactly. It's a video game podcast going into more of a format of a video game book club where we'll be choosing a game to cover and playing through it and then going through exactly what our thoughts are about it. It's not exactly like a review necessarily, but we'll just go through our experience with the game.
Pre-associative fever dream might be what we end up with.
Yeah, yeah. Literally just a stream of consciousness.
At the end of it, we'll just be talking about who knows what.
Yeah. And not every episode is going to be like the video game book club review style. Like we can talk about other things as well, like gaming culture and movies and popular internet stuff. We're mostly PC gamers ourselves, but doesn't mean we're restricted to just PC. Like I have a Switch and play it from time to time. That being said, I have not booted it up in probably like a month.
I also play Switch.
Yep. Dylan emulates lots of games.
All games that I own and can perfectly legally do. Also, I really have not booted up an emulator in many years. Instead, I'm using I don't know. Basically, at this point, PC has access to basically any game you want legally, anyways. So
Nintendo's gonna come for you, Dylan.
The Nintendo ninjas.
I have never once touched a Nintendo emulator in my entire life. That is what I'm telling Nintendo.
That is hearsay.
Yeah.
So I guess we should go into more depth about who we are exactly and how we know each other.
Levi, who are you? Everyone knows that Dylan's a rat lover and that I am a henchman, but who are you?
I am a gamer through and through. Ever since I first laid eyes on video games, I was like bobbing and weaving and like not playing the game actually, like just sitting there watching older people play it as a little kid and like dodging bullets, even though I wasn't playing. I felt like I was just in the game, you know. VR was meant for me, even though it was back in the 90s. And what was it? Virtual Boy was the only one that was really out. And that was an experience I did not want to subject myself to and probably still don't really want to. I've heard it's like migraine inducing and yeah. Epileptic, yep. Me and Scott have known each other for a very long time.
Very long.
Yeah, back in elementary school, I think this is something I used to do a lot, and actually, still do a bit in some ways, where I would just find people who have video games and be like, especially back in elementary school, be like, "You have this game? Hey, by the way, we're friends now, and I'm coming over after school today to play your games." So,
you are not the only one who did that.
I have a distinct memory of Levi coming over, but like there's this one where it's like there's literally film footage of it of everyone's at my birthday party. I open my gifts. I'm like so excited about a bunch of them, and one of them was Pokemon Gold for my Game Boy Color.
oh,
And obviously I'm like, hey, this is gonna be so much fun to play. Anyway, a bunch of kids are over. We're all just running around playing, and then there's just like this one shot of Levi sitting on my old couch with my Game Boy hunched over, catching Pokemon or doing God knows what.
wait, you have actual video of it, like home video?
There's this one video, I don't know where it is now, but I remember seeing it and just being like, oh my
gosh.
God. It'd be super funny to find that footage.
Oh yeah.
That'll be the podcast art.
I don't think I'd be able to find it within a week, but we'll see.
Just gamers in general, just representing.
I'll just find some other nerdy looking kid that looked like you.
Not that I looked nerdy. I was just an everyday run-of-the-mill third grader, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a normal guy running around third grade. Yeah, so that's basically how me and Scott first met, inviting myself over to game with him. As far as Dylan goes, me and Dylan, we've known each other not as long, but still a long time. It's been going on more than 10 years now, I would say, technically.
Actually, definitely.
It depends how you want to define knowing someone.
Do we really intimately know anybody at
No,
all?
I don't even know myself, right?
Yeah.
I remember one of my first most prominent memories with Dylan is in high school law class in grade 12, where we were
Oh,
doing
yeah.
a mock trial, and there was the defense and then I don't know, the crown, I guess.
I believe I was Crown. You guys were supposed to be Defense.
So that's what you would think just from the way things folded out, but so my group of normal friends were on the defense side and Dylan was on the crown side, and our teacher decided to put me not in my group of friends and put me with Dylan, who I didn't know that well at the time. And so the trial was supposed to be a pretty open and shut case of the defendant was obviously guilty. He did some like breaking an entry and stuff, and I played the role of like a cop that had like arrested him. And I totally just like was like in like the legal meetings with the Crown defense side and was like, you know what? I don't know these people that well, and I want to be with my friends, so I'm gonna go hang out with the Crown, even though we're not supposed to collude with each other. And I totally went over there and was just like, hey, yeah, so you want me to be like a double agent for you guys, and we'll totally swing this trial so that the defendant gets away.
No, why?
It was just fun. We just wanted to. Basically, the whole point of the mock trial was to show that we understood the system of the court in Canada, in particular, and so we showed to our teacher we definitely understood it, and
You
we
understood that there's corruption in all law-abiding
yeah,
citizens.
yeah, I definitely like played the role of like a corrupt cop, and ended up swaying the jury to not have like enough evidence to reasonably convict the defendant. And I just remember when the jury finally gave their verdict, like he got the not guilty verdict, and the teacher was like, "What is going on here? This is."
The funny thing is, I did not know that. So yeah, I remember this quite well. But basically, for me as like the Crown prosecutor guy, this surprised me when like the cop turned out to be corrupt. I thought this was all part of the class, and I thought that for years. Levi told me this about 6 months ago that he just completely fucked up the trial by
I
just
know.
doing some random bullshit.
I don't think I've ever heard this story, which is so funny. I love it.
Oh, really? You never heard that? Oh man.
I don't think so. I don't remember it at least.
I thought for sure that Dylan, like that you had known, like like the crown side of the trial, like knew that we were like totally sabotaging the whole trial and just
Like, I don't know if I like was just incurious and didn't really ask around about it, but I just completely bought like the teacher just like threw us for a loop or something because he liked the plot twist. But I didn't realize that it was entirely just a fucking 17-year-old fucking around
yeah.
and just messing around in class.
I know it's not video game related, but I just had to share that little fun story about how me and Dylan met.
Important context to establish that you are a shit goblin and will just mess everything
Shit,
up.
shit, goblin. Oh my god, that's great. But wait, I actually don't know how the two of you met, Scott and Dylan.
Well, I don't have a distinct memory such as that. Me and Dylan like knew each other in high school as well because we all went to the same high school. So it's like I kind of just remember like me and Dylan would talk every once in a while in high school.
Right.
I
Mhm.
don't know, just in random classes, right?
Basically, yeah. Like, and you were always really noticeable because you were like one of the only dudes with long hair, like in school at the time. I think it was really art class when we were really chilling out, like as a group.
Yeah, were you there with us when we were doing like the pottery collection of a bunch of Kirby's with all the different hats?
I kind of remember that actually, like the hats from like Smash Bros. And the games.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Oh,
feel like I vaguely remember that.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with all that said, for like that being our initial meeting together, I really didn't hang out with you guys like much like during or immediately after high school. It was really our friend Darren who I started to hang out with later on. My like very clear memory of like really hanging with Scott was one night where there was like a party, and me and him just wound up kind of chilling out in the living room till like 6 in the morning, just talking about random ass bullshit one day.
So I wanted to ask you guys about more formative games from your childhood and like genres and stuff that you tend to gravitate to more, just to get an idea of like what your thoughts will be on games going forward. Let's start with Dylan. Start with Dylan. What was a really formative game from your childhood that you just have such fond memories of?
I think that the very first game I ever played was Pajama Sam. So I got to put that
Wow.
down as a formative game.
Pajama Sam. I don't even know if I know what that game is. Is that a PC game?
It is actually a PC game. So, like, I started out a PC gamer, surprisingly. I think my dad had some old DOS games, like, on his computer. So, like, very early memories. Apparently, I had very early experience with DOS because you actually had to use DOS to, like, boot up games.
Right.
Yeah, so I have very early memories, like, booting up DOS games, and, like, I was, like, a better DOS user than my mom at the time, and I was,
Wow.
like, 2.5. But, like, it was
Holy
super
cow.
basic, like,
Two,
cycle.
two and a
Yeah,
half.
yes, or 3 or something ridiculous. In terms of, like, actual, like, games with graphics something, though, I always remember Pajama Sam and, like, I don't know, this one game where he has to, like, go in his closet and, like, collect a bunch of socks and stuff. I can't remember the name, but it was, like, a pseudo-educational puzzle game type thing.
I'm not familiar with the DOS games or Pajama Sam, so I have no context
You
for what
know,
those are.
now that you're mentioning Pajama Sam, because I was like, oh, I don't know what my first games would have been. I'm starting to realize, like, oh, it would have been those old edutainment games that they had back in
Oh,
the day.
Math Blaster?
Maybe.
No?
I'd have to
Okay.
think about it. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was sort of my early experience, and like then it was like, Dad, like you have to get this thing, like it's the most amazing thing you've ever seen. Like it's like he's like, okay, well, like install Pajama Sam on your computer and stuff like that.
And at that point, you're like a 2.5, 3 year old telling your dad, "Dad, this is the best game ever. It's only like the first game I've ever played. Pajama Sam.
By
You
default,
gotta
it's the
get it."
best game ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I basically I was like a edutainment PC gamer for the first few years of my life.
Mm,
And then later on, I friend got an N64, and I realized, oh no, wait, that's where the action's at.
yeah. 3D graphics.
Yeah,
No, that's a real game there.
yeah,
N64.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I
The
love that game.
yeah, it's a great game. Specifically, the mini game like Banjo Tooie was
Oh,
probably my favorite on
Ooh.
that. Yeah,
oof. The Banjo Kazooie series, like for the N64, I want to clarify, are just gems.
Very good of you to clarify, because, yeah.
I played those games so much. I love them. I love them. I'll just say that. I love them.
yeah. So I would put down those my formative experiences.
Pretty solid base there. What about like general genres that you tend to gravitate to like nowadays, would you say?
In terms of like what I play now, so it's sort of a basic answer, but I'm getting into like more just 3D action games. I'm actually playing a lot of Bloodborne these days because I managed to get that working on my PC through like PlayStation Plus streaming.
Just from seeing your Steam playlist and stuff of what games you've been doing a lot of playing of recently, I can tell Souls games are huge for you right now, and I totally understand that. Like Elden Ring just coming out has been a huge game, and basically all of our lives. It's been so good.
Yeah.
You're our pretty much our resident RTS game boy. Like you play a lot. You play a lot of those like strategy games. Like you played lots of like 4X strategy
Yeah,
games as well.
so that's the thing where recently it's more action based video games like the Soulsborne series. Recently played like the Resident Evil remakes, bunch of stuff like that. I'm trying to work through Control right now as well,
Nice.
but as a Bloodborne distracting me. Traditionally, I've been quite strategy focused, particularly what you'd call the grand strategy games. Europa Universalis, all of the Total War games. In terms of 4X, I've played Civilization since Civilization 4 to 5 to 6. I spent a lot of time with those. I'm kind of falling off those a bit because my tastes are changing a little bit, and the reason why is actually embedded in answer to one of my own questions that I'll be asking later.
Okay.
But traditionally, I have been quite strategy focused, and I have opinions on those games as well.
That makes sense. I mean, if you're doing DOS and stuff at 2.5 years old and stuff, you got that big brain, you can do those
Yeah.
big brain plays.
Oh yeah, always the big brain plays. I always play on fairly easy settings.
Hey man, he claims to have a big brain, but I was beating him at XCOM multiplayer. So
Okay.
That's true. And also, you will both destroy me at anything like, say, Smash.
Oh, okay. We'll
well,
smash you.
that's between me and Levi.
Yeah, me and Scott are famous for having a rivalry in Smash and
There's a little bit of a rivalry,
a
Yeah.
friendly
He's
rivalry.
he's the blue to my red.
Basically, if we three play together, it is like watching two giants clash with Levi and Scott. Like Goku and Vegeta, and I am Yamcha down here, backstepping and falling off a ledge.
I think a better comparison would be Krillin and Goku in the first original series, where we're really not on the same level as like the pros.
Oh man, if we were to go to any of those pro tournaments and stuff nowadays, I would just get totally bodied. I have not been playing enough Smash recently, but
Yeah, we're good for our friend group, and that's fine for me. But Drew goes, and it's like he doesn't do amazing either, right? So
yeah. Another buddy of ours, Drew, he's way more dedicated to Smash Bros and goes to local tournaments and stuff, but doesn't do super well. But he's getting out there. He's trying.
Hey man, his Ryu is dangerous.
He's more of a danger to himself. Really, he goes off the ledge sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Listen, he's a killer. He kills everyone and sometimes himself.
So if we're going with original Dragon Ball as a comparison, I will be the oolong of the group.
Oh, Dylan.
I don't know who that is.
It's
the
the
little
pig.
man.
Oh, the Pigman's dope. I love Pigman. He can transform, right? He can shapeshift. I thought that was one of his powers or something.
I think it is. I gotta watch the original Dragon Ball again.
Hey, you know what? You're here for opinions. Original Dragon Ball better than Z. Fight me.
I think we all agree with you, Scott.
I haven't even fully seen original Dragon Ball, and I would agree with that because I remember I tried rewatching all of Z, and it's just I got to the Android saga and I had to bounce off. It's just the same thing over and over. Well, I mean, okay, it's a good show.
Listen, I can respect it up until maybe the Cell saga, even, but really once Frieza is destroyed,
Just starts repeating itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're doing Dragon Ball opinions, that
maybe we shouldn't be.
Yeah, maybe not. So, Scott, I wanted to ask you about your formative games from your childhood and stuff. Like, what's something that stands out to you as like when you think of gaming from when you were younger? Like, what's the one game that really stands out in your mind?
Yeah, I think the first game system we had was the Super Nintendo. And of course, video games were still kind of new to our parents and stuff. So the Super Nintendo was kept in my parents' bedroom actually, because there was a TV in there. And so it's like if we wanted to play video games, it was like we had to ask mom or dad. It's like, hey, can we go into your room and play video games, right? And my dad had like the classic like NHL '93 and stuff. So it's like there was that game, but he didn't know what good. There's no way for him to know what the good games were, right?
Yeah, totally.
Of course, he goes and gets some absolute classics, one of them being Super Mario World.
Oh, baby.
Debatably one of the
wow.
best games ever. I still love that game. I think like the last time I played it was maybe like 3 years ago or something. Because I was trying to do an actual like 100% every exit. Like I actually wanted to experience every single like little bit of that game. But yeah, so that's one of my favorite games. Still so much fun. The music, it's still in my head. It's just ingrained in there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Super Nintendo was definitely a major one. I think other games on there were like Super Mario Kart, which people always forget about. It seems like everyone remembers the 64.
Yeah.
But people forget about the Super Nintendo, and I still kind of like it. I was playing a little bit of it on the Switch Online service, and it's still okay.
Yeah, it's definitely still like it holds up.
It's fun enough for what it is.
Yeah, just like a fun little party kart racer game, and
Exactly. That was the one that I played with my dad a lot, and then I would promptly cry.
why? Because he would beat you. Oh God, yeah,
We were young, man.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
save my tears for later now.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then actually, because Dylan mentioned like computer games, I remember having like the Magic School Bus on the old like Windows 98 or whatever it would have
yeah.
been.
I had that too. I totally forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I think I did have that too. Was there like a dinosaur one at least? Like
The
I
one that
definitely
I had was something to do with the ocean and the beach and stuff. So that's what I
okay.
remember, I think. And then another one that is actually like, I don't know if you would consider it a video game, but there's this thing called Dangerous Creatures that I used to just always go through. And it was just like, it was more of just
Oh,
like literally like an encyclopedia for kids to like click through and like listen to sounds and learn facts about frogs and, whatnot.
Wow, man.
Old stuff. Yeah. Ancient, really.
Both you and Scott and Dylan talking about like those old PC games, like totally like I had completely forgot about all those games. Like I used to play educational PC games as well, and uh, why did everyone seem to have those? Like was it just a thing that parents did at the time, where they're like, if my kid's gonna play a video game, it's gonna be educational kind of thing, and they would all go and buy the same ones, or did it come with computers?
I don't know. That's a good question. The other one that I remember having was Mario Teaches Typing.
Oh, I played that in elementary school. Yeah.
Basically, you just had to hit POW blocks that with a letter on it. So yeah, I liked games, right? But they didn't have they were just a game. It was no different from playing Monopoly or Snakes and Ladders for me. It was just like a fun activity. I think it wasn't until N64 era when I got, again, what do my parents know about gaming? Absolutely nothing. They got like classic games like Banjo-Kazooie and Ocarina of Time. And like the thing is, like there's only so many games that they would know to get. I mean, sure, there's the Rugrats game for N64, but nobody's talking about that these days.
excuse me. Like that's good. Classic game.
I still have it here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no. So Ocarina of Time was maybe like that game where all of a sudden, like I don't know, just I remember something in my brain just kind of changed. It was just something about like this feeling of adventure. And it's funny because like back then I wouldn't really have like thought about it much, but like now that I've kind of like known more about video games and just like hearing like interviews of Miyamoto talking about him running around Japan in the woods with just a stick and stuff, and like that was like his inspiration for creating like the first Zelda on the Nintendo. Like it just reminds me of like our childhood running around the woods like with a stick. I'm running through bushes over toppled logs and stuff, and it's just like it did have that like adventurous feel when you're in Kokiri Forest and stuff. So it's like yeah, I don't know. There was just something about it that just made me feel so connected to the story for some reason. And it was one of those first games with a story that was kind of there. I know now
Mhm.
Zelda games aren't the most narrative of games, but it was just so cool and atmospheric back then. Yeah.
Totally. Ocarina of Time, especially, and I feel like games from that era for me were like ones that I felt less obligated to just like play the game to complete it. And like I don't know if it was just a thing that I would do as a kid, less so now as an adult, but like I would just play the game just to like, like as if I was playing with a toy in real life. I just use my imagination and run around and explore the different parts of the world and be like, I'm going into
Totally.
the woods today because I want to go see what kind of bugs I can find in there. And
Big scary ones.
yeah, totally. Oh, yeah. It was the first game I felt like I could do that with as well. Yeah, where it was just like in a big exploration tool, and I can only imagine what kids are like with like Breath of the Wild and stuff nowadays. I can only imagine being totally just absorbed by that one.
Bro, I even Breath of the Wild, it's just like there's probably nothing at the top of that mountain. I'm gonna go up there anyway.
Yeah.
I do wonder because the funny thing is that I actually don't have a particular game with like Ocarina of Time where it's like, oh, this is where I fell into the entire world and the like, because I kind of skipped Ocarina of Time. A friend had it, and it didn't really like wow me for some reason, and
Really?
I only really played Ocarina of Time all the way through years later. It was like, okay, I guess this is a masterpiece, like. But Zelda never really grabbed me. It was only the first Zelda game that actually did get me was like Twilight Princess.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, none of them really grabbed me, but I understand that whole like falling into a game like Zelda, and I do wonder if the fact that this era was when 3D games started was a big factor on that. I've never really fallen into a 2D game the same way as like actually being fully immersed in a world, actually trying to navigate it. I guess actually Banjo Tooie might have partially been that game for me.
Mm.
Just the way the world interconnects. It's funny going back to like Souls-like games, how where in the original Dark Souls and Bloodborne, there's a lot of routes like back to previous areas. Banjo Tooie was actually doing that way back in the day, where you like can like find entrances to different zones between them, and it's like super surprising.
I think we can all agree that Banjo Tooie is the Souls-like of collectathon games.
It absolutely is.
It's the first Souls-like.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, okay, then moving on back to the original question, Scott.
Oh yeah.
What would you say are some of your go-to genres nowadays, if any at all?
Yeah, so I know Dylan, you kind of answered what you've been playing recently, but like, and for me recently is like way too many varied things. I think I tend towards platformer games
Mm.
and adventure style games, which is basically exactly the two games that I just mentioned, like Super Mario World and Ocarina of Time. Like, I think it's about the movement for certain games that can be so much fun. You know, like in recent years, like Super Meat Boy and Celeste are just like they have their own take on like how to move through like these like difficult terrains, and they're just so much fun to like play with. And like, you know, the game N or N plus,
Oh
like
yeah,
another one where it's like they really play with the physics of like how to maneuver through platforming challenges.
like a precision platformer.
I think it is just always like such a ball. And then I think the thing is Ocarina of Time, or just I guess the Zelda series in general, they've always kind of experimented with how they portray an adventure to people because they have puzzles in them. So I kind of also tend towards games with a puzzle aspect to it. Like
Mhm.
even just simple things like Sudoku and Picross nowadays, like are just something that I really enjoy. Or Baba Is You and like The Witness or something, you know, like just I love like figuring things out. And part of that, you could say the same for combat games. You are kind of figuring out like the most ideal way to take down an enemy.
That's true.
So there's sort of like this solving the game kind of stuff that I do and really enjoy.
Are you saying like combat games, kind of like fighters or like Smash Bros, are really just a puzzle game as well?
Maybe not so much multiplayer games, but
Oh,
I'm
okay.
looking more at stuff like even Dark Souls. It's like, okay, how am I supposed to destroy this like wriggling beast that it's like its movement is so chaotic, and it's like you slowly kind of just piece it apart, and like it does feel like a little bit like a puzzle, but it's just way more stressful.
Yeah, when that music is blaring in your ears and there's this giant writhing mass that you've just all of a sudden been enclosed in a small room with, and you're all of a sudden like, "Holy cow! I need to devise a strategy real quick."
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see this. I can see where you can say it's like a puzzle game as well. Yeah.
Well, I think also the Zelda series kind of made it like that because it was like
Mhm.
it was like you just got the boomerang. It's just like, okay, this is the weapon I got to use against this guy, right? Like they did make the bosses and the enemies kind of like puzzles where it's like each item and weapon has like
It's a tool that you can apply to the
Yeah.
environment and to combat encounters.
one of
yeah,
the one of the key differences that Zelda is usually very clearly telegraphed, like, okay, you got the boomerang. Now we're introducing the enemy that you need the boomerang to kill. Well, Dark
Yeah.
Souls is like, here's an enemy. It has you can basically beat it any way you can, but there are some weaknesses that you may or may not have picked up earlier.
yeah, because like my only tool in Elden Ring is Big Sword, right? And I got to figure out how to use that tool properly.
How am I gonna bonk this guy?
How do I bonk him?
Bonk him right on the head.
Yeah, send him to Horny Joe.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well,
So yeah, I gravitate kind of towards kind of just anything and everything. Having said that, though, I do tend to not play real-time strategy games. Those are the ones that I kind of avoid.
yeah.
I just have a tendency to not like games where I have to control multiple things in real time.
Okay.
Because that's even kind of the same thing for sports games. You're kind of you like some sports games. You kind of are kind of it's I kind of consider them like a real-time strategy a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just because you're moving all the pieces like kind of together a little bit.
Mhm.
I can see that being kind of a weird thing where, yeah,
I
controlling
like
a
them.
group of things is different than controlling one thing at a time.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's like there's times where it's fine. I mean, like there's like the brothers game where you're controlling the two kids, or there's like this game called Soft Bodies where you're controlling two things at the same time, and those are designed in such a way where it's kind of just like, okay, I can play this. This is two things, like, right? And it's like you're kind of already splitting your brain. But I just don't. I think the problem for me is like I just with real time strategy games, I'm like I don't want people dying. I can't be a general. I have fucking soldiers dying here. I need every single person to survive.
Yeah, this is something very heartfelt we're getting out of Scott. Like,
Yeah. Every battle that you're a part of is like, as soon as someone's about to die, it's like, everyone retreat. We can't afford to lose a single one of you.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think for some reason real time strategy just has never really gripped me. I love like I like I said earlier, like XCOM. Like I love like the slowed down strategy where it's like I can just get the perfect move, or like Into the Breach. It's like I just know the exact move I got to do in the next two turns, and it'll be perfect.
Oh, Into the Breach is a Switch only game, or is that on PC?
That's on like anything and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a game that looked pretty cool as far as like a smaller style strategy game where you don't have like a massive board and it's all blocks and turn based.
It's actually like one of the most phenomenal turn-based strategy games.
Cool. I guess a big blind spot for us as far as like genres of games that we don't play, I would say is sports. Sports is the biggest one that like all three of us just don't play at all. And I would say that means that we should definitely play one eventually.
Having said that, yeah, we don't play like the mainline like EA games, but we absolutely play Wii Sports and like
Right.
Mario Strikers.
Which is having a new game come out soon, actually. So maybe
It's out, right?
it's out now.
I thought it was, maybe not.
Oh,
I mean, here's the question: is Mario Kart a sports game?
I guess
technically it would count as a sports game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, typically at most Game Award shows, racing and sports games are put in the same category. And also, I will say, I haven't, it's kind of sad, but racing games are one of my favorite genres, but I just don't play them as often anymore because I just feel like it's more of like a multiplayer thing that I want to play with my friends. But like, we're just not always into them.
Yeah. I just want to say Mario Strikers Battle League, it did come out on June 10th. So that's definitely something we should check out.
I've heard mixed things about the new one, but I think it'll be fun. Just like people had mixed reviews on like Mario Golf for the Switch, I was like, I've been having a ball with it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We could have an interesting conversation about like the boundaries of the sports game genre and like how much sense it makes to group like a golf game with Madden games, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just, you know me, I'm always gonna say it's hard to compare something like that.
Yeah. I guess I should clarify more and say the blind spot in genre that we have is team sports, with the exception of the Mario sports games, because those aren't like simulation, like realistic style sports games.
You're talking about the simulation, like EA games.
The NHL games, the basketball games,
What was it? EA Big made like the street games.
those did look like they were a lot of fun.
I had NFL Street and it was fucking fun. Also, are we gonna swear? We've already sworn in this podcast.
We're gonna
right?
swear, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
This is a swearing podcast.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I guess I should go into a formative game from my childhood.
Yeah, Levi, tell us what you played as a kid.
Tell us about Levi.
Unsurprisingly, I think a common thing between all three of us, because we grew up in this era, was the mid '90s. Was the N64 was the first console I ever had, and it's like the console that I have the most fond memories on. And I have to say, as far as like singular games that stand out in my mind, it would have to be Smash Bros.
Ooh.
Super Smash Bros. The first one, I remember as a kid seeing that commercial of those people dressed up in the big suits in the field, walking along, holding hands in the flower patch, and then one person, Yoshi, trips somebody or something like that, and they all
It's
just start
Yoshi.
brawling. Yeah,
That
of
little
course.
fucker.
That damn bastard Yoshi.
Dude, he's getting back at Mario for fucking Yoshi jumping off of him.
Just sacrificing him
Yeah.
to the abyss so he could make that jump in Super Mario World. Yeah. The first time I saw the commercial and saw that that was even a thing, like a party game where you fight as all your favorite characters, that I saw the commercial and I had to have it. And my parents were very like pretty anti video game like in my childhood, and I didn't usually get to ask for video games. And I remember being like coming up to my mom and like saying like, I know you guys don't usually like me to have video games, but if there's one I could ask for, it's this new Smash Bros game, and it just looks incredible. And it's violent, but there's no blood kind of thing. And she was like, okay, we'll see how it is. Your birthday's coming up. And I remember the morning of my birthday, it was in the middle of June, and going into their bedroom and them being like, happy birthday. Because I woke up because I was a little kid. Kids tend to wake up pretty early. At least I did. And I was like, hey, yeah, it's my birthday. So what's going on, huh? As far as gifts go? And they're like, go check on the kitchen table. And I go in, and I see just like the raw cartridge just stood up on the table there. The Super Smash Brothers. And I was just like, hot diggity dog, baby, I got it. And I swear I played that game like all day the first day. And me and my brother just fought constantly and like in the game.
Who was your main? Who was your main back then?
Back then, I think I didn't think I had a main back then. I think I just would play everybody.
Fair.
I think once I unlocked Captain Falcon, I think I used him a lot because I liked his smash attack of like the big long range kick with like the fire effect on it. I was like, yes, I could just keep spamming that like forward smash ability.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have a funny story because Smash Bros. Was pretty formative to me. Actually, a big thing that's kind of I've left out is that my cousin was like a year and a half older than me, and he's played a lot of games like before me, and I would just copy him. So Smash Bros. He like brought over one day, and I was like, oh my god, it's like I need this. And he's talking about one of the characters you can unlock, and he made it sound like such a powerful character, and he was really hard to unlock. And I personally couldn't figure out how to unlock it after playing for so long. And imagine like this big brawling like souped up monster of a guy, and then I finally unlocked Ness and saw what he looks like. And I was very confused about what the hell I was supposed to do with this thing.
You saw this little boy and
Yeah.
cried out in terror, obviously. Those cold black eyes of his.
Probably that's what happened.
I had a similar experience, like unlocking Ness, being like, "Who is this? What the heck?" But to be fair, he is really strong. Like his up B and his baseball bat.
And the bat, yeah, no, he's really good. But you look at him, it's like that's not who I thought we were talking about here.
I thought we were talking about Blastoise.
The ever rumored that you can unlock Blastoise in the game.
You can, I swear.
Yeah, Billy in 4th grade said he did it. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Oh man, the era before the internet was widely in use and stuff, like where all the rumors would just run rampant. And I swear you could, like somebody played as Master Hand if you get 99 whatever score on this game, and yeah.
Yo, I did play as Master Hand on the Melee.
Oh, you did?
You can do it. Yeah, it's a glitch.
Oh, right. It's like you have to put your controller into like the 4th port or something like that.
I can't remember what it was. It was some actually that might be part of it, but yeah, it's very weird. You don't really move around. You kind of just press buttons to activate certain abilities of his.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun. It was just one of those things you had to try out.
Yeah, I would have to say that Smash Bros was my most formative game through my childhood. Not that I didn't love and enjoy different genres and games. Like Banjo-Kazooie was a huge series that me, my brother, and my cousin, who were like the 3 people I'd game with the most back then. Like we played all that. Like Legend of Zelda, just Jet Force Gemini. A lot of Rare games, actually, I have to say. Like they had a lot of hits on the N64. Like
Rare in the heyday, the golden age of Rare on N64, they just had like almost every game that by Rare on the N64 was so good.
As far as like genres that I tend to gravitate to nowadays, I play a lot of FPSs. So I feel like that's good. I feel like I'm the one that plays the most FPSs out of all 3 of us. So
I would say you do. Yeah, you definitely are all over that Battlefield and Call of Duty.
yes. Not that I play every Call of Duty. I have played. I feel like
you got very defensive there, but
I did get a little defensive. Yeah.
Hey, we do not shame people for the stuff they like.
yeah. Don't yuck someone else's yum, I guess is a good saying to have.
Always, yeah.
I don't play every single yearly release of COD. I think I'd give it every like 3 or 4 years. And then like the last one I really played was the remake of Modern Warfare, and the next one I'll be playing is probably Modern Warfare 2, the one that's going to be coming out this year, I believe.
Now, when you say you play the CODs, are you playing both multiplayer and single player, or are you gravitating towards one or the other?
The Call of Duty franchise, if people are not familiar with COD.
Yeah. As far as COD goes, though, I play the campaigns first always, even though they're like not that memorable. They're like a cheap, fun action movie. It's a fun romp for like 4 to 6 hours, and then you're done with it, and you just never think about it again. And then I play the multiplayer primarily with the newest ones that it's mostly been Warzone, and I just use the multiplayer versions of those each COD game to like upgrade my weapons and stuff, but mostly Warzone, honestly. And I'm not a big fan of battle royales. That was Warzone in particular was the first one that really got me into it.
Yeah, I'm also not big on the battle royale combat either. Maybe it's just because I'm bad, but I thought Warzone was probably like one of the better looking ones. I still think Apex Legends is the best looking one as far as just like the mechanics and just style.
Mhm.
But like Warzone was the other one that I thought looked really good.
Yeah, as far as gunplay and stuff goes, I would agree Apex has the best one. It's just the systems that Warzone had in place, like the contract system and like just gaining money in general to buy certain like equipment and like your loadouts with, and being able to fight for your life to come back after dying and buying back teammates. Just all of those systems like coming together just made me appreciate those games so much more, because I found, yeah, like Scott was saying, I'm not that great at battle royales, and so I spent a lot of time just looking at the death screen, watching my teammates run around without me, and I was like, okay, that was a fun like 2 to 3 minutes. Now I get to sit here for 10 to 15 minutes just watching you guys play the game. So that's
Was an annoying aspect of it though. It's just
yeah.
like, okay, it's a really weird learning curve to it, I find as well, where you can't really I find that there's this concept of failing faster gets you into the game quicker. Where it's like I can't fail fast enough with battle royale games.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something.
It's like it's really slow until it's like a really slow pace until I die. It's like, or you just try and just I guess go into the battle zones like immediately,
Yeah,
I guess.
that was like a bit of a learning curve that I needed to get over, was going to the hot spots when you drop into a new match and like just dying over and over again, just to learn the games and get used to the guns and like thinking fast on your feet and learning the maps and stuff. It's just that's just how you should start out with most battle royales. Not that I'm an expert, but
Yeah, I remember just like trying to like be more stealth based initially, but then it's like you do need to get better at the gunplay, and it was just weird. I don't know. I never really got back into the genre. It is kind of funny that it is its own genre. I think of it more of just a mode, because I mean I don't see why you couldn't just have like it as a mode with most games.
yeah, I think that's a interesting discussion that's been talked
It's the
about.
same as MOBA. I mean, MOBA was just a little. It's really funny how MOBA has become its own game style,
Mhm.
where it was initially just what the Defense of the Ancients map on Warcraft 3.
Yeah, it was one like mod basically from Warcraft 3. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And now we've got like Heroes of the
mhm,
Storm and all
Dota.
these all these great games
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I don't play.
The funny thing is that that's a segue to my other most played genre right now is MOBAs. Like I've been on and off again League addict since it came out back in 2010, I believe, and I just
Sorry, can you say that like if you're in an AA meeting?
hi, I'm Levi, and I'm addicted to League of Legends. I've fallen off the cart again recently, the wagon, the cart. And
The cart, the wagon, whatever.
I've fallen and I can't get up, and I love it down here. I've been really enjoying those recently. I think it's in reaction to Elden Ring specifically, and how that game is multiplayer, but it's primarily single player. And after spending like 160 170 hours in Elden Ring, I was just feeling like I needed a complete break from that style of game, and I've just been full bore into League of Legends, teamfight tactics as well. You can play it on PC and on your phone. Actually, I should say that the mobile game genre is something that I'm curious to delve into as a genre. I know it's a genre that I have a pretty bad opinion of.
Are we gonna call it a genre?
It's
Yeah,
it's a system basically.
it's a system. Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. It's too much shovelware on there, but I actually just saw because there's only ever been a couple of games on the phone that have like stood out to me, and one of them being Monument Valley is actually coming to Steam like really soon.
Oh, I've heard of Monument Valley. Monument
I
Valley.
know it's because it's a very popular phone game.
Okay. Well, that's yeah, and see that's what I mean by we should subject ourselves to more genres or consoles like the phone and stuff because I feel like there are hidden gems on there that just because I have the stance of like just usually have had the stance of just blanket just avoid all phone games. I feel like we've missed out on, and so I feel like we got to give it a fair chance because mobile gaming is pretty big, obviously, but it's something I'm not well versed in and would like to become more literate in, I guess is the way I can put it. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Dylan.
Well, I was gonna say, so is that your answer for your genres that you currently focus on? Yeah.
Yes, I would say that's more currently is FPSs and MOBAs, but I am a huge fan of like the puzzle game genre, puzzle adventure games, and fighting games like Smash Bros and stuff like that. I haven't played a lot of like Street Fighter and those like style of more arcadey fighting games. Those are ones that I would like to get good at eventually and like give a good try at. But in the past, my experience with it has not been good. I remember playing Soul Calibur 5, I think it was. It was a Soul Calibur where the guest character was Yoda, and I remember playing through the campaign and like thinking, like, okay, I'm okay at this. I think I got the hang of this game. And then Scott came over one day to come and play with me, and he had never really played it before. And I just remember you just destroying me, and I got so mad because I was like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand what's happening. I'm putting in these combos, and he's never played. I feel like you're just button mashing and winning,
And I was.
and I never played that game ever again after that day. I put it down forever. But I will say I would like to give it another chance, like that genre of fighting games.
I had Soul Calibur 6 and me and Darren were playing and it was such a ball. We were having so much fun. Like our fights were so close and neither of us knew what we were doing.
Yeah. Well, going on from there then, because I think we're starting to run out of time here, but
Just wanted to say like a quick thing, basically.
No,
like,
I have a few like I think fun questions. So
it's actually really funny that we were talking about edutainment because when we think of an educational game, it kind of brings up a certain idea of it's just like, oh, well, we're gonna do some Math Blaster today, or we're gonna do some reading comprehension stuff, right? But I've always found that a video game or just a game in general has always been a way of like ourselves kind of learning new skills. Like when we're throwing a baseball around in the yard, we're kind of learning like this hand-eye coordination stuff. It's like I find that games have always just been a wealth of being able to expand our mind the same way as a book does. Especially with storytelling in games has become on par with books, in my opinion. Just the stories a game can tell can be just so vastly different from a book, and they can be just as good. And I just love the way that developers use technology, whether it's old school stuff like Hideo Kojima putting the passcode in Metal Gear Solid on the box, which everyone threw away, or there was the Star Tropics one where they literally gave you a piece of paper that if you don't pay attention enough, you're going to throw it out as well. And you're supposed to dip that in water, and that gives you a code that you need to use in game.
I did not know about that. Wow.
Hilarious. I recently played Star Tropics. But then now there's like new stuff like we were talking about before your eyes, where it's like it uses your webcam to track your eye movement. And I love the way that technology and creativity can combine for video games and just the way that it can make you think differently.
Totally. Wow. Very well put.
Thank you.
I did not prepare anything like that at all, I must say.
actually, it's funny because Scott is hitting a lot of points that I also am thinking, and is also probably going to be a thing that I keep bringing up, which is that video games are pretty unique in terms of different mediums like books and films, in that the emphasis is theoretically on learning in most cases, in that you have to experience and learn a game system. And oftentimes that learning has both explicit and implicit components. There's always an interesting question of how the game is teaching you something and what you actually end up learning from it. A big game that I think I'm going to bring up a few times is actually The Witness. I was always very impressed when I played on how it actually teaches you to solve the puzzles without giving you any explicit instruction.
That is one of the games that when I think of like just this elegant creativity, that's one of them.
As far as like ending this goes, I guess the best way would just to be
Bye.
goodbye. Yeah, no. Just say.
We should probably say what we're gonna play for our first game.
Right. So that being said, the first game that we're going to be doing for the book club itself is Tunic. So please play that for next week if you haven't already. And that brings us to the end of this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Levi, and I've been joined by Scott and Dylan.
Yay.
If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Or if you're listening on your favorite podcatcher, follow and subscribe there for more episodes in the future. We've been Very Good Video Games, and see ya all next time. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
GG.